My current research project is one that is looking to mark the centenary of a particular controversial film that came out in Hollywood in 1915 called The Birth of a Nation, directed by D.W. Griffith. It is a historical epic film, over 3 hours long, black and white, silent, although it had a score that was written especially for it. Very controversial film because it has a particular view of the American Civil War and the time after the war, which is very contentious, it's very racist. The central sort of heroes of the film are the Ku Klux Klan, who save the white nation from the power of the black man. And so, as you can imagine, this has had a very controversial history since 1915. A lot of people setting up activist groups as a result of the film, or marches, legislation, censorship in the law courts, all sorts of different responses to the film over the years. But it is a really key film. Certainly it's used in a lot of undergraduate degrees for young film students who are looking at the means of composing film and looking at the way that certain directors established a film language. And D.W. Griffith, the director, has been acknowledged as being a significant figure in the development of a film language. So it's a very significant film for more than one reason, but it is very, very controversial. So myself and a number of colleagues from other universities in the Northwest are putting together a series of events between November 2014 and November 2015, which will mark this centenary and use this film as a means of springing onto discussing other issues to do with Hollywood, to do with popular culture, racism, constructions of national identity, the reach of Hollywood globally, and a whole range of other different debates, and hopefully sort of bringing up a lot of new research about the film itself as well. Even though over its sort of 100-year history there's been a lot that's been written about this film, there's still more that can be said. For me personally, my focus is on the film itself. That's what I research, that's what I'm fascinated by. My colleagues have sort of looked at different areas depending on their specialisms, but for me it's the film itself. And so over the last 18 months or so, what I've been looking at are responses to The Birth of a Nation in Britain after its initial presentation in this country. So looking at the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, looking at press articles, journal articles which have referred to the film either being exhibited in a cinema or being broadcast on TV, or finally being made available on VHS or DVD in Britain. And I was interested to see how people were responding to that film being made public in this country. And it seems that certainly up until the 80s, even the 90s, people were still writing letters, wanting to start campaigns, going to their local council to complain about this film being made available, being screened. And so it brings up some important questions about who decides whether people should see this film. Should people see this film? What are the reasons why they should see it? What are the reasons why it should be suppressed or held back? Very important questions. It makes us, we have to ask ourselves, what is censorship all about? Who makes these kinds of decisions? So actually, even though the film itself is a very specific example, a case study, it leads us on to a great many other questions about popular culture, about deciding who audiences can or should be, and these kinds of questions. So not something that I can solve, obviously, but it's at least something that I can raise and get people talking about. So it's everybody's right to be able to have access to those kinds of debates, which could actually lead to, enrichment, empowerment, people having a strong opinion that may affect the way that they live their lives. It really does sort of come down to that sort of a power that people can have. And I'm very excited about us playing our small part in something like that.